Today's podcast is brought to you by drinkers like you. To help support the show, visit patreon.com/haveadrinkshow.
We've been feeling nostalgic lately and revisiting a lot of old topics, or at least realizing how much was left out before. God, so much.
So much.
So today we say, I'll be Bock, and revisit that delicious spring beer. Sure, it's not the season, but Bock season is more of a state of mind anyway. We'll go over this early beer and figure out why there's so many damn goats, and maybe have a drink.
Welcome to Have a Drink, the show where you learn along with us about what you drink. I'm Brittany Lee Walker.
I'm Justin Frazier.
I'm Christopher Walker.
And I'm Casey Price.
And that's a bunch of crazy ass cats.
Meow. You all did this. You didn't have to live like this.
I know.
Meow.
We do all of this to ourselves.
It started shedding now.
Mostly Jonesy.
I mean, I thought they've been doing that. Shedding. Gotcha.
Yes, I know I have an accent. Oh my God, cat.
At every night, it gets to that scene in Community on the Halloween episode when they're in the dark like part
They're
of
in
the
the
school or whatever.
basement.
Yeah,
and
the cat just like randomly flies across the screen, and he's just like, "What is with the cat? Is someone throwing it?" That's where we're at every night.
they shoot out of random places, and it's a herd of small ponies. The neighbors have been beating on their ceiling at 5 a.m. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Cats,
used
what
to
do
it.
you do?
So yeah, hi.
Hi. So you all have been having so much fun, it sounds like.
Actually, we have. I think since last episode, we went to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And
Nice.
it's the greatest the Ninja Turtles have ever been.
Ooh, that's a
joke.
that's a high bar.
It's
It's so good.
I don't know. The high bar for Ninja Turtles was set in the 90s. They've not been able to top it since.
I was going to say that the first live action movie is actually very good.
I was going to say, no, the high bars for Ninja Turtles before Mutant Mayhem would have been the original animated series and the first live action movie.
Yes.
And this is like, let's take those and wad them up into a ball with the original comic. And then and then that's what Mutant Mayhem is like, and it's actual teenagers.
Oh, did they all kill Shredder in the first like
There is
5
no
minutes?
There's no Shredder.
I know, but
for the better. I like the movie. It just
also Ice Cube plays the villain.
Superfly, and it's great.
So wonderful. Oh my God.
Because he's just Ice Cube. Like, he's in there just like cursing. I think he drops some F-bombs, and I'm just like, all right. I'm here for it.
He's like, don't give me that shit.
Yeah.
as a super, and we're like,
So your son got to.
yeah, there were some like legitimately
It was
kind of, I don't know, trippy or
disturbing.
kind of scary parts.
When he gets covered in ooze and falls into the zoo, and all the animals are like absorbing into him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God. It becomes this big amalgamation kaiju. And then they hit him with something, and like a horse falls out of his leg, and he's like, I don't even need that horse.
No, it's no, but the art style is what kind of like, there's a couple of things you're like, oh, but other like
I saw
the art style is also amazing.
Some great quotes about the art style. They said they wanted it to look like a teenager's doodles in the margins of their schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted it to be so sloppy that AI could never duplicate it.
Yeah. But legitimately, like All of it. Jackie Chan as Splinter
The
is
greatest.
maybe like one of the best things that's ever
He's-
happened.
He's not. I don't think they ever call him Splinter.
No, they just call him Dad.
They call him Dad or Rat Dad because everyone just calls him Rat Dad. It's kind of what it is,
Uh,
and it's what he is. He's like a late 80s single dad in New York. He's even got a Jerry curl in the beginning.
Amazing.
So good.
They did. I think they're still doing, but there's a more recent comic run of Ninja Turtles, and I remember reading it when it first came out, and it was like really fun. But they had it was done with like consulting one of the original creators, because two of them don't really get along well anymore. But it had they had like the very like Splinter is your father kind of thing. They went the angle that because like there's two ways Splinter goes. He is either a sentient rat that got covered in ooze and learned ninjutsu from his teacher,
Yeah.
or he's a human that got turned into a rat, which is how the cartoon did it.
Throw both those out the window. They
yeah,
made up
that's
a new
not
one.
a.
This one, he's a rat that got, turned into a thing, but also he's got genetically got the memories of a he's like a medieval Japanese ninja, like like the 1400s.
Yeah, I remember.
And the turtles are the reincarnations of his children as well. Like they have memories like buried in their mind of someone else. So like at one point in the comic, Mikey like sees some like kanji and he just reads it out. And they go, "Mikey, you can read Japanese? I can read Japanese. I can read so much more manga now."
So it's I don't know. I just highly recommend everyone see it if you like Ninja Turtles.
No joke. Like if it's, I don't know. If, I assume it might be streaming, but I have no idea.
Not
It's,
yet.
Not
Like
yet.
I mean, not yet. I mean, like when it comes out, because like it took a while for the Mario movie to stream on anything.
But take everything you think you know about the Ninja Turtles and just throw it out the window because they.
A lot.
Bob's like, I don't know what that means.
I mean, them getting covered in ooze. That's about it.
Does
Everything else changes.
does Matthew Murdock still give them their powers?
No, he's not there. He is not present for the ooze.
It has a very interesting story about how the ooze occurred.
Yeah, they change up a lot of the origins of the ooze.
See, I still love the fact that Daredevil. It's an alternate world where Daredevil does not get his powers. Instead, he saves these people, and four turtles four turtles and a rat get turned into ninjas.
As you do. Yeah.
So it's
Like you
one of the things that you could knock it for, but it's also great, is it's an action comedy with very little action.
Mm-hmm.
Like there may be 2 fight sequences.
But it's fine because the first one is to the No Diggity song.
No, yeah, that one's a fight montage.
So
Because
good.
it's of them like hunting down a cartel, but it's No Diggity.
No doubt.
Like the soundtrack is actually just
Sorry, I'm picturing like at the end of it, like they've like there's something comes up and you just see like Michelangelo hit him with a nunchuck. Going, "Poof, I like the way you work it."
That's kind of what it
you're
is.
not far off.
Only it breaks
actually.
down into like comic cells while it's playing No Diggity and showing them.
Anyway,
Yes.
it's we want to say so much.
Who
Watch the movie, like no joke. It's
who
so good.
who did your son come out of there going, "This is my favorite Ninja Turtle"?
Ninja Turtle. He's
Okay.
upset there's not a green Ninja Turtle.
They are green.
No,
No,
like
there's
he wants one with a green bandana because green's his favorite color. Honestly,
It's
the
okay.
movie got too loud, so he ended up not liking it.
Oh,
we didn't go to like a sensory showing, which we should have.
And it got like it hurt my ears. It got so loud at the end. And I was just like, Jesus.
You know, the older I get, the more I appreciate sensory showings. Like today with the kids going so crazy, I put on my noise canceling headphones in the kitchen as I was working in there. I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna listen to the screaming.
You know what? Daddy's going to go to his happy place.
Well, one last thing, since we are 3 weeks away from Disney World,
Yeah.
we tried to show Emmett the Boo to You parade, and immediately, like within seconds of seeing characters, he goes, I don't think those are the Disney characters. I think it's just someone pretending to be the Disney characters. I'm just like, could you like not for 5 seconds? Could you not be so smart?
I'm so proud of him.
Like, just quit being so suspicious of everything.
This
Don't be
is me.
suspicious.
This is me on some like at one point at my grandparents, someone came in dressed as Santa. It's one of my earliest memories, and I'm like looking up at it, and I reach up, and I'm like, I had been like 3 or 4, and I grab a hold of the beard, and I pull down, and it revealed that it's not Santa, and I went, oh, not Santa, and they all start laughing, but they're just like, how did he know? How did he know to tug?
Yeah. That's probably where we're gonna be at, but whatever. I don't.
The boy can spot a fake beard a mile off.
Fair.
Well, I mean, he's got a lot of training.
Okay, I know we need to move on to other people, and because it's a long episode, I just want to highlight real quick the other thing we've been doing.
Oh yeah, plus.
Pokemon.
We got the plus, and
Nice.
very handy, might I say.
That'll come in very handy at Disney because you literally just turn it
When it
on.
vibrates.
It plays the game itself.
Kinda. I mean, there's a lot of running away of the Pokemon, and I'm like, did you try?
Yeah,
But-
it's only like it only catches things like half the time.
Yeah, but it'll spin this Pokestops, which is still nice. So
Oh, okay. It's because that's the big thing is like just having enough balls to be able to like catch everything like that.
Really never had too much trouble having balls.
But
Got the
then
right number.
also, this is a new one. It does the sleep tracking with the new Pokemon Sleep app.
Oh yeah,
And-
you lay it on your pillow or whatever.
Yeah, and plus you get special research in Pokemon Go for using this to track sleep.
And you get a Snorlax wearing a sleeping cap.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
cool.
they've made the game much more complicated than when I last left.
But today I got, we both got Snorlax wearing a cowboy hat.
Mhm.
You tell me which is better.
Yeehaw.
All right.
Picturing a Snorlax that talks like Sam Elliott.
I just picture one. No, I picture one that's more of what's it? The sheriff, like hound dog from Five Goes West. It's always sleeping,
Oh,
Mm.
and he's just like blowing through his mustache.
That's a
I can't remember his name. But he's actually descended from like Wild West. folk.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's like meant to be like a Wyatt Earp. It's a Wild Burp,
Yeah. Why?
Wyatt Burp or something like that. Yeah, but that's voiced by
James Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. Yeah,
oh, that makes sense.
yeah, the man who shot Liberty Valance. It's getting real movie nerdy. So, Casey, what have you been up to?
Canning. So I've been like
Oh,
trying
what
to try-
brewery are you canning?
no, not quite. We've been, although I did we've canned like some sour beer. I'm interested to see how that treats the can before it eats through it.
I was gonna say, like, you come out just like, oh God, no, it's too sour.
So it's harvest season, so we've at home been buying up a lot of like farmers market produce and stuff and canning it up. I bought like 20 pounds of tomatoes today. I ordered 10 pounds of fall bean. I bought a bushel of a bean last week, and it took me the whole week to string them because they were a small bean as well. So it was like every bean was like one postage stamp worth of weight.
You should have got a peck of pickled peppers.
Well, I am going to be probably heading down to Lincoln County soon to go to their auction, maybe on Labor Day. What's the next one?
Labor Day is next week.
Labor Day, yes.
Oh, not week after next. Yeah.
On Labor Day, I plan on going down there and going to the auction, the produce auction. So, they'll have thousands of pounds of produce, and you can just bid on it and get what you want.
We need to get you some
$10.
good beans to make you some leather breeches. You can
Yeah.
string them up in the rafters of the carport to dry them out.
I like
We,
my leather breeches.
We keep a stash. Dad keeps a stash at the house, and every so often, Mom like breaks them out, rehydrates them, and it's time for.
They pretty much don't go bad. I'm sure
No.
at some point they do, but
No, I keep mine in the freezer after.
I was gonna say they get them in the freezer and they
don't freezer burn because there's no moisture, and then anything else that would have hit them is there. I want to do a whole deep dive on beans, but this isn't the show for that one.
have
But
a bean.
that
feels.
I'll do a bean podcast with anybody any day. Like we can start us a bean podcast.
That could be a
Have
nice. It'll be a
some
nice
eats.
side project for like the short form videos we need to figure out sometime.
Yeah,
But man, that's all I can think of though is like I came to beans late in life. Didn't like them when I was a kid, and I got older. I'm like outside of like kidney beans and chili. Now I'm an adult. I'm like, no, I want them all the beans.
after salt, like just think how many cultures have bean culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like
They all have
every
their own
culture out
bean.
there has beans. Doesn't matter what continent you're on, they've got a bean culture.
Yep.
And then and it's not the same with like rice. Like every culture doesn't have rice. There's a lot, but beans top rice in this situation.
Rice is difficult it's not every climate is there for rice.
But every climate is there for beans.
Beans.
A lot of
I-
cultures, yes, a lot of cultures do like those red beans and rice. They don't miss her.
Look, the three sisters. There's something going on with that. Your old beans and corn.
But when I go to the Lincoln County auction, I'm bringing a full pickup truck down there, and my hope is maybe to pick up a whole pallet of watermelons, and come back with a watermelon beer.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I already asked my brewer. It was like, hey, how do you feel about like doing a whole pallet of watermelons? Like, I'll do whatever.
You told him
You're
you're gonna do it all Gallagher style.
I don't know how we're going to shell out, 160 watermelons.
You gotta make it. You gotta name it something with Gallagher.
Mm. It'd be nice.
It's Gallagher too.
Or is it Gallagher 3?
That's such a deep joke that I don't even want to explain.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't know.
That's one of those
I
ones.
bet I bet people on this show don't know what we're talking
I have
about.
no clue.
If you didn't follow 80s stand-up comedy, you have no idea.
Then what's wrong with your life? What you've made some poor choices. God. Sorry. We reached the part of the show where me and Chris just try to make each other laugh. It starts when Brittany says, today's podcast is brought to you about, and it ends.
No, people don't
Please say
realize
bye.
it started with the name of the document and then the intro you wrote me. Where I revised the name of the document to reference the intro you wrote me to make us both laugh.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
desperately
God.
wish we had recorded that time with Kent, when he was talking about, like, he basically laid out what the show is in a nutshell, and we're like, yeah, it's really good, actually. that's very astute.
Well, I mean, he said it a couple of times. They've said it on a Ritual Misery that I was on because they were like, yeah, no, Brittany keeps everyone kind of in line, does a lot of like the producing end. Casey's the knowledgeable one. Chris knows a lot of the local scene, and he's like got a lot of bourbon knowledge, got a lot of other knowledge. And Bob's the dancing monkey. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is correct.
All right. Speaking of the dancing monkey, what have you been up to?
I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. It's time to do the episode. Literally, it's all there's been hardly it's been working and playing this game. It's a lot of fun. It's old RPG, like computer RPG stuff. It's
I can see the old frame rate. Like you say it and it just pops up in my head, and I'm just like, oh, the 90s wash over me.
Someone a friend of mine's been playing it. He never played the old games, and he was saying how he met Minsk for the first time in this game, and he's like, oh, he's simple. And I said, if kicking butt for justice is simple, I don't want to be complex. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing the last few weeks since it's come out. And
Commendable.
yeah, I don't have a family to have to like pay attention to. I just sort of I can be selfish.
I from what I hear, that game is everyone has that thing going on with that game.
It has developers shaking in their boots because it's not like there's no way to make money off of it other than their straight up press sales. And they're like, it's doing good.
All of my friends are like very confused. Like, yeah, well, when the DLC comes out, and I have to keep telling them, I don't know that it's getting DLC. And they went, what do you mean? The developers have said like they wanted to put out as complete a game as they could. They are discussing the potential of maybe doing that, or at least doing some patches. But like, these are the guys who did like the Divinity and Divinity Original Sin. Those didn't get DLC. They did get if you had bought the originals, they did give you a free upgrade to the enhanced edition, though.
Yeah,
like, they are very big on like upgrading and making a good experience for their fan base. So
that's because after Baldur's Gate 2, there weren't like rehashes and all kind of like no, it just took them 20 years to crap us out the third one.
Yeah, I mean, different studio because BioWare went off to their own IP stuff, but it's been a lot of fun. I haven't I've recruited the bear. I have not engaged in any kind of liaisons yet.
You haven't let the bear penetrate you yet?
That's the big noticeable thing of the game. Like that's how it became the best selling game on Steam that week. Everyone's like, I can do what to a bear? I'm in. They all became the Rick and Morty meme of the you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yep. That's all that. Then they're like, oh, that's a great meme. All right, let's get in it. By it, I mean the bear.
Yeah.
And I also mean the topic.
Yes.
Goats.
We're not that drunk. Cheeky bastards. We're not that drunk.
You know what we should have had queued up? The chorus from Hadron.
Oh.
Because Amon Amarth just really like last week released their new song Hadron, which is the goat in Valhalla that secretes the greatest mead in the afterlife. And it stands on the roof of Valhalla screaming. And the chorus is them singing, and then it stops, and then you just get a goat going, bah! And then they're just like chanting, Hadron, Hadron. And then it goes back into death metal.
Well, you're back at Bock's. The last time we discussed Bock beer was one of our early beer episodes. And let's face it, we were lazy. I mean, we still are, but we've greatly refined our research and skim reading abilities. Ain't that the truth? It's time we gave this style the attention it deserves and not just reading from the BJCP. With that in mind, we aren't going to dwell too much on the modern style or brewing. It's a whole other can of worms. But instead, we're going to give you the hardcore history version of Bock beer. I like the line, don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah. So, our story begins back in the Middle Ages, northern Germany.
This would have been known as Saxony. This would have been known as part of Saxony. That's how far back.
I had to explain to someone about like, yeah, I mean, they're like Germanic in the English language, and they went, from where? The Angles and the Saxons. And they went, what? The Anglo-Saxons. They're Germanic tribes that they went, they are? Oh, God. All right. I've got some more context I've got to give you. All right. And then.
This is basically that point. So we're like, hey, this is where we are. Now get ready for all of Bob reading as just the preamble, as the setup for the story of Bock beer, because you got to know kind of the setting of the world right then.
I mean, this is like how hardcore. You mentioned hardcore history. He did a series on the rise on the fall of the Roman Empire, and that all happened because he wanted to tell a story about Cleopatra, but he kept going back for context, and it turned into something else. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. I wouldn't be able to just start at one thing. It'd end up being, anyway.
Funny you should mention the Holy Roman Empire.
Nothing holy or Roman about them.
Jesus.
Anyway, in northern Germany, there was a little town by the name of Einbeck, or Einbeck, or Imbach, as documents have it spelled, variously spelled it in the 13th century. And in fairness, spelling was more of a suggestion then. They hadn't really...
Yeah.
More of a suggestion, really.
Go ahead and mark your Eddie Izzard references.
That's a more subtle one than normal. Let's set the stage with some background on how Europe was loosely organized at the time. We promise this is important to the setting, to the overall story. The medieval period was a time of social fragmentation and strife. After the fall of the Roman Empire, feudalism became the political rule of Europe, and Europe was shattered into many small kingdoms and duchies, especially any German-speaking areas.
Yep.
The political power was in constant flux between the papacy, German emperor, heir to the Holy Roman Empire, kings, princes, dukes, German as well as French, Danish, Italian, and Swedish, and the free cities.
If it's like the convolutedness of it all.
Mm-hmm. Whenever it appeared that one political force would reach a position of dominance, one or more of the others would cooperate just long enough to tear it back down. Honestly, it is part of the reason why it was like you could make a case that it was holding back development in the region, while China and some of the Arab kingdoms were just kind of like, well, we've made everything nice and stable. Now the science can begin.
Yeah. This is keeping things, well, if it never gets stable, the science never begins, and then we get the Dark Ages.
Until we get to a certain point. Then we've stolen enough of their knowledge and can really take off and colonize.
History.
Yeah. Real quick aside, there is the former college humor people do a improv thing now called Make Some Noise. It's one of their various shows, like a dumb game show thing. In this one, they were trying to do singing, and they got Wayne Brady on there. Yeah, and Wayne Brady frequently just starts calling people colonizers, and I'm like, yes. Not the people in the show, but talking about. I'm like, I approve this message.
Stand up, man.
Anyway, the Free Cities evolved as a result of placing their support behind some other faction who, upon winning the battle, would grant them a charter because they became regional centers of commerce. For that was their strength. Most of the prevalent, they were most prevalent at the furthest reaches of the Holy Roman Empire, where the Pope or the German Emperor had less influence.
When they were out of reach of that long arm of the law.
Yeah. Oh man, the 30 Years' War is fascinating for the.
Oh, don't worry, we're getting here.
Oh, I know. Like we're getting. I see leagues popping up, and I'm like, But the little tiny areas that dot that place, where you're just like, how are wars happening? The scale of the conflicts were a little bit smaller, but yeah, scale in terms of like how big the armies are. Territory-wise, it was about as big as it always was, but
yeah.
Anyway, Bremen, Lübeck, and Hamburg were perhaps the largest of the free cities in the north. The former two, located on the east side of the Danish peninsula, over time developed a brisk merchant trade with them, connecting the Baltic with the northern seas. However, as the Danes proved fierce raiders, these merchants united to protect the road between them. This confederation, or Hanse, grew into a large, loosely held trading association known as the Hanseatic League. The league was formed to protect each city's economic interests. Together, they grew to control all the trade through the North and Baltic seas. They built trade houses in a number of foreign ports. They dealt in with foreign governments to secure exclusive trading rights. At its height, the league included 80 cities, all of them led by the city of Lübeck, or Lübeck. I forget which way it's supposed to be pronounced. One of their specialties of many of the Hansa cities was their beer, which was highly regarded, commanding a premium price far and wide. This is also where a lot of the tradition of other countries are just going like, yeah, they're just some drunk northern Germans. Who cares what they're a bunch of diffused powers. We're like the true centers of power, like France, Italy. Well, not Italy, that they were broken up too, but France and Austria were, the true powers. And there's some island up there that occasionally might do something.
Might get a little rowdy.
Lost my place. Thank you. The freedom to brew for sale was not a widespread privilege in medieval times. The church or nobility reserved this right themselves, granting it to others only when it suited them. This is why you would have, like, the whatever brewer of the local lord. I can't say a one thing because it's like some of them were kings, some of them were princes. There's what is one that there were some that were not religious, but they were the what were they called? It's something like it's like a bishopric, but it's not run by the church or something. It gets weird.
But the church had to have their fingers in that pie, basically.
Yeah. Usually such a grant was made when the authorities grew tired or unable to brew themselves, and then only then, in exchange for taxes that could be raised by dint of the brewer's craft. Whether the right to brew was granted to a city, a brewers guild would whenever a right to brew was granted to a city, brewers guild will spring up to regulate what was brewed, and when, and how much was made by each brewer.
At this point in my head, Terry Pratchett just starts ringing. I'm just like, it's Ankh Morpork. Like, that's what the whole area did just become. It's just these strange niche guilds running everything.
They I also love like these brewers are doing this. They also have no concept of what yeast is then.
Yeah.
They are essentially doing magic.
But then, the magic wand was the paddle.
That's why it goes so well with the religious aspect.
Yeah.
Each city's beer had its own character, was praised for its features. Historic records show that some beers were regarded for their nutritional character, while others medicinal purpose. And note was taken of each beer's alcoholic strength. Yes, back in the medieval period when you had to get your beer card to. It's like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, well, here's this, and also here's some leeches that'll help bleed you of your poor humors. Well, if you insist. Einbeck began as an estate held by nobles living in the great Hansa city of Hamburg. Grew into a small town, eventually was given a charter as a city sometime between 1203 and 1256. By then, Einbeck had grown large enough to join the league. It had the fortune to be founded a center of hop gardening just when hop usage was first blossoming in Germany, and in place not under control of the church. This latter aspect means there was no taxing authority to determine the use of gruit, which combined with ready supply of fresh hops, undoubtedly aided the flavor of the Einbeck product.
They're just like, it's one of those things where you look at it, and obviously hindsight's 2020, and you can see how every domino fell perfectly to make this beer happen.
It also may have helped the beer to remain stable throughout the time it took to transport it. Over the next century, Einbeck became a renowned brewing center, outstripping the fame of larger neighbors in the league. By 1385, there were 600 private houses brewing Einbecker beer within the city. The city's mayor was also its chief brewmaster. Man had power.
My kind of town.
Citizen brewers would work in cooperative fashion, with brewmasters producing a wort for each of them, and they in turn tending to the fermentation. I'm just picturing a man in lederhosen, like near a vat. It's like, attend to my beer. It's simple work, but it's honest.
I just see him doing in the later hosen, doing the snap of the.
Yeah. It's just higher up because the
Yeah,
straps are.
because they're bibbed.
Mhm.
It's more of a snap on the shoulders.
And that's where it comes from, I guess. The bib overalls of brewing.
Yeah, I mean, Casey, you're just continuing a long tradition.
That's true. How else are we supposed to keep our pants up?
The city subsequently purchased the output from the private houses, blended the beer, and then warehoused them and brokered the beer. The trademarked Crown E device was owned by the city, and none of the private brewers was allowed to use it separately.
And once I saw a picture of the Crown D, I was like, I've seen that. But yeah, Einbeck's brewing process grew to the point that its beer was exported across the Baltic Sea to Russia, Sweden, and Denmark, and across the North Sea to Belgium, the Netherlands, France, and England. From there, it was also carried by Venetian boats into the Mediterranean. Over land, it was transported throughout the Holy Roman Empire. Beer was getting around. It is written that Einbecker beer was exported as far away as Jerusalem.
Jeez.
Many of the Hansaport cities had depots specifically constructed for Einbecker beer due to its frequent trade.
This would have been.
We're in the 1200s.
Yeah, like 12. Yeah, we're in the 12th century. So this would have been. There would have been like Europeans down there crusading.
Yeah.
So
records indicate that the famous Einbecker beer was composed of 1/3 wheat malt and 2/3 barley malt, all the palest color available. It was clearly brewed as an ale, but only during the winter, from St. Martin's Day at the end of September through the 1st of May.
that's when outdoor. Never mind.
Copulation.
Mhm.
So that it may have been lagered or cold conditioned, as alt beer is today. Such a process would certainly add to the beer's stability. Einbeck maintained its position as a premier brewing center throughout the 14th and 15th centuries. Its beer grew in fame and was frequently a part of lavish gifts. Martin Luther received a present of Einbecker beer on the occasion of his wedding. He was also sustained. I don't know why that was so hard to say. At the Diet of Worms in 1521, I know that's pronounced differently. On a cask given on a cask given to him by Duke Eric of Brunswick, since he had given up solid food for Lent.
Can I do that? Can I supplant solid food with beer for Lent? I know I don't observe Lent, but
well, as every headline,
that's right. There's the one
Cincinnati
dude who
area
does.
will tell you when Lent comes around, there is a man at 50 West who does it every Lent.
Yes, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about him for a minute.
A lot of weight doing it.
Seems healthy.
No, I can't remember.
It's called malnutrition.
Yeah. He had to, after the first time he did it, when he went to do it the next year, I can't remember all the supplements he has to take.
Yeah.
Early in the 17th century, however, the 30 Years' War, combined with the appearance of other free cities in Holland and Poland, the increasingly hostile Danish and Swedish kingdoms, and the rise of that little Prussia eventually brought down the Hanseatic League and Einbeck with it.
The 30 Years' War is very complicated. I still can't really explain it to anyone, and I've read on the subject a couple of times. I find it interesting. There's a lot of great stuff around it. It can be impenetrable.
The northern trade routes, so long monopolized by the League, through its ports, were disrupted, and the financial might of the cities was drained. In 1669, only Lübeck, Bremen, and Hanover were left to officially dissolve the League. With the demise of the League, Einbeck's exports dropped, and distribution was confined to northern Germany. In 1650, a fire wiped out much of Einbeck, including its brewery. A new brewery was constructed, but it burned down as well. Eventually replaced by two separate breweries, which also burned down.
Sunk into the swamp.
Third brewery.
Third brewery stood.
No, the last bit's all just a good another Eddie Izzard reference. Go ahead and check your.
No.
Who?
Monty Python. It's Holy Grail.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Influenced Eddie
Lines are
Izzard
blurred.
very. Yeah.
Well, over time, these came into private hands and became competing operations. In the 1920s, they merged to form Einbecker Brauhaus, which is now the only brewing concern in Einbeck. Since 1972, it has been a satellite of the Dortmunder Union Schlauchseiss AG system. Today, it produces over 500,000 barrels, 600,000 hectoliters of beer, and nearly a quarter of that output is, the book just refers to it as the strong beer that made Einbeck famous. It's Bock. It's the early Bock. Bavaria knew of the fame and flavor of the beers from the north. I can always just keep calling it from the north.
Yeah. But, sorry, all I'm thinking of is like the beer that made Einbeck famous made a fool out of me.
It's kind of getting into a later bit. Bavaria knew of the fame and flavor of the beers from the north as they were brought overland to the Munich nobility at the end of the 15th century. Let's dial it back in time now. They were very well received and may have inspired the famous Reinheitsgebot.
Reinheitsgebot.
I cut out, there was a whole big section on it in the book. And I was just like, you know what? We've talked it to death. We don't need to. Beer purity law, which began as local Munich ordinance in 1487. The law was enlarged to cover all of Bavaria in 1516 by Duke Wilhelm IV, as an attempt to increase the quality of the local beer. At this time, official beer tasters were appointed. Their duty could, what did that job pay? Their duty was to verify the quality of each brewer's product thrice per week in the summer and twice in the winter.
Oh.
For years, local brewing talents continued to be meager. In an effort to produce a reasonable drink, Duke Ludwig X brought a Brunswick brewmaster to Munich in 1540 for the express purpose of reproducing the strong beer of the north. Also, in 1540, Einbeck set up a depot in Landshut, a short day's journey from Munich, and 5 years later, another in Munich itself. Eventually, under the reign of Wilhelm V, the royal court brewery, the Hofbrauhaus Munich, or München, was constructed and completed on All Saints' Day, 1589.
Yeah.
There's a big name. So, in the beginning of the 17th century, with the decline of the Hanseatic League already well underway, Munich breweries began to produce credible imitations of the northern beers. Let's tickle another historical fancy here. The Reformation and Counter-Reformation created, the story of Bock just.
It's like the French wine stories. It's like where, or the Trappist, where it's like, where did all the Trappists in France go? Well, Napoleon
Pretty much. Well, all of their they unfortunately like to set up right along those borders. The Reformation and Counter-Reformation created deep divisions between the Catholic South and Protestant North. And that, combined with the high cost of overland transportation, caused Bavaria to be even more isolated from the North than in the previous century. With little hope of obtaining the imported beers, the Müncheners were forced to make their own.
Make our own beer with blackjack and hookers.
Get the blackjack and the hookers. We'll just kidnap someone. At the time, Munich made two general styles of beer, brown beer and Weisse beer. Brown beer was an all barley malt beer, brown with red highlights. The original Hofbrauhaus became known as the Old Brown Brewery, and a second brewery was built in 1602 called the White Brewery. Who could have guessed that? Reflecting which types of beer were made in each. The Weisse beer was a sour wheat beer that today we would more closely associate with Berlin.
Casey's correcting the pronunciation.
Oh,
no. I was just saying we've got both types of beer, country and Western.
Oh,
yeah, pretty much.
I was just thinking of the sour. I was like, oh, so they made Berliner Weiss in Munich.
Munich Weiss. I don't know. I can't make it sound the same. In 1612, Duke Maximilian the First persuaded brewmaster of Einbeck, Elias Pichler, to come to Munich. Once in Munich, the brewmaster was not allowed to leave the town. So valuable were his skills considered. 2 years later, in 1614, the Hofbrauhaus introduced its version of the Einbecker beer, brewed at the Brown Brewery. They just literally chained this man up in the basement until
Kidnapped brewers.
Yeah, until he gave them the secrets. In 1638, the strong beer was released to the general public. It was instantly popular and required the brewery to expand several times to make up for the displaced brown beer production.
that tracks. For some reason, okay, so the next section is just the goat, but
Yeah, it's the greatest of
I
all
was
time.
like, that's where my head went first, and then I was like, no. Okay.
Who's the goat? No, literal goat. No.
The origin of the term Bock beer has many different theories. One theory asserts that the beer was only produced under the sign of Capricorn the goat, Bock being the German word for billy goat. Meh. And it's in late December and January when that occurs. This seems least credible since the beer was produced whenever feasible. So the most widely accepted belief is that the name comes from the corruption of the Einbeck name.
Because drunkenness finds a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Give me that Einbeck. Einbeck. Einbeck.
Yeah, that's about right. In the Bavarian dialect of German called Bayerisch, that's what we're saying. The locally produced imitation of the fine beer imported from the north was called Einbecksche. Einbecksche. The Bavarian prediction for the hard P sound in preference to the softer B extended to the word beer as well, consequently known as Pier. One can see it spelled as Pier in the text of the Reinheitsgebot.
So
We-
they docked in Munich. Isn't it landlocked?
We may reasonably believe that this was shortened to Piksche, Pier, or just so I guess it'd be Pock. Pocksche Pier or Pock Pier. Bock beer. So yeah, language. Super fun. The best and least feasible is a story from 100 Years of Brewing, a knight of Brunswick who, having cast aspersions upon the beer offered him by Duke Christoph of Bavaria, was challenged by the enraged brewmaster to a formal drinking bout.
Is
Anyone
this
else
the same
picturing
one
anyone
that
else
was chained up?
I could say anyone else picturing Christoph Waltz? Also, I mean, could be Casey. I don't know what year this is supposed to have taken place in.
True. Yeah, Christoph.
I have to imagine kidnapping brewers was a rich German tradition.
I mean, given how many of them there were,
Yeah.
You took that gamble if you're kidnapping someone. Damn, they're a brewer.
A lot of them about. Upon the day of the contest, the castle of the Bavarian lord was beautifully decorated, and the ladies of the court were present in great numbers to witness the outcome. Suddenly, the band, which had been discoursing martial airs, stopped, and a keg of Brunswick beer and one of Bavaria were placed side by side. The brewmaster drank from the Brunswick keg and the Brunswick knight from that of Bavaria, two immense vessels holding more than 2 gallons each, being
Das
the
Boot.
Yeah.
Das Boot.
Each drained his gigantic cup.
And the keg stand was born.
The gentleman from Brunswick still making sarcastic remarks about the strength of the court beer of Munich. The brewmaster, however, was confident that his opponent would finally succumb despite his bold front and, as he handed him the second cup, said, "Now we will empty another to your health, and, in half an hour, the one who can thread a needle while standing on one foot shall be declared the winner." Obviously. When the vessels had been again emptied, a maid was sent for needles and thread, and returning, carelessly left open the gate of the courtyard. At the very moment that each contestant was preparing to stand on one leg and attempt his task, a pet goat frisked into the yard. The Bavarian brewmaster succeeded in threading his needle, while the Brunswick knight dropped his 3 times and concluded by falling and rolling on the pavement, claiming that the Bock had thrown him. Duke Christoph and his court were convulsed with laughter, remarking, quote, "The Bock that threw you over was brewed by me."
Seems legit.
I used to believe that one.
What I would like to think of, because this has opened up a whole new avenue of historical drinking that I hadn't considered, which is drinking duels to the death. You, sir, I demand satisfaction. Choose your weapon. Beer. What?
Whiskey.
First one who dies.
That's Andre the Giant, and he's just choose your weapon. Alcohol. Pure alcohol. I can't talk like him. I can't even try. He talked like in the back of his throat. It was like, it's so hard to replicate.
Because we found the lady. Hello, lady.
Hello, lady.
This next one is the styles. Is it Altes Bock? Is that how you say it?
Sure.
Why not? Why not? The prefix alt means old style or old fashioned.
Oh,
It's
they made
used-
old fashions.
Yum.
And old style.
With Bock beer. I'm
gonna make a cocktail that's gonna be like an old fashioned. I'm just gonna call it an old style.
Old school. It's used to imply that the item is created in the original or old time way. Unfortunately, there is not enough detailed information to know that we have really brewed the Salvatore of the 1780s, the Einpachsches. I'm sorry, Einpachisches.
You've not even gotten
Beer?
to the real hard one.
Yeah, of 1614, or the Einbecker beer of the 1300s. The difficulty in producing old-fashioned beers is that the techniques used are unclear. The actual barley, hops, and wheat strains are unknown and unavailable. The yeasts are unobtainable, and the accompanying microflora indeterminate.
Wait, you're telling me that this is what they were fighting over in Avatar? The yeast?
Unobtainable, essentially. Furthermore, people's tastes change. What was, quote, pleasant acidity in the Middle Ages may be rather sour today.
Well, when everything was sour.
Yeah. There's a context problem.
It's just
In
bad beer.
total,
when sourdough was the norm. That was just dough.
Just dough.
Yeah. In total, the task seems pretty daunting. We know that hard-won brewing gains were considered trade secrets passed on only through apprenticeship, never written down where prying eyes might find them. There are accounts of the Einbecker brewmaster who moved south to Munich, which imply that he was a tailor or a traitor to his city.
Prying eyes, they're watching you.
Mittelalter Einbecker beer. This beer was made from a grist of 1/3 wheat malt and 2/3 barley malt, using the palest malts available. Most beer of the time was very dark brown or black because there was little control over the malting and kilning process. The color here indicated is a bit darker than modern English pale ales, which, although they are amber in color, got that name because they were the palest beers of their time.
That's the huge thing from this that kind of, I don't know why. I think it's just because we think of easy drinking mass market beers as these, crystal clear pale beers. And when something's, it's using it, this is an English pale ale, it's going to be, rather pale. And it's like, no, it's when they called it a pale ale, it looked like an English mild.
Yeah.
Pale compared to the sludge they were drinking.
You could maybe chew it. I mean,
It
Yeah,
wasn't smoked.
yeah.
So the yeast used was, wait, is that right? Yeah. The yeast used was wild but selected. Barrels that produced bad beer were destroyed and good ones were used.
That's the devil's
That was
beer.
your punishment for betraying the masses.
That's about right.
How could
it
you do
was-
this to me, beer? I trusted you.
It was undoubtedly a mixed culture of Saccharomyces cerevisiae and other Saccharomyces species, probably including Brettanomyces species and bacteria.
Yeah, Brett notoriously doesn't play well.
I am just picturing like if we tried to follow the recipe in like lab conditions now, and then we give that beer back to someone back in that time, they're like, "What is this?
Yeah.
Where's the kick?"
Yeah.
I taste no
Uh,
farmyard. This is not it. Doesn't
And-
taste like goat.
Doesn't taste
Yeah.
like sour goat's fur.
It's really specific. In such circumstances, the yeast would be very under-attenuating by modern standards, and the resulting beer would have much more body and sweetness than a beer of today. Modern mashing and lautering techniques were unknown, so it's likely that a great deal of unreduced starch and protein was carried over into the boil and subsequent fermentation. This would produce higher gravities, but would not add to the sweetness of the beer. Beer was only
These
produced.
Beers were practically black holes. Sorry.
No, it's just a better Terry Pratchett joke.
Sorry, the laughing I think from Casey got me on that one.
It's basically like, I could expect to see that in a Terry Pratchett thing, like the beers from the mended drum were basically the gravity so high they were basically black holes.
Yeah.
The beer was only produced during the cold part of the year and was consumed within a few months of the end of fermentation. So some of the more fastidious organisms would not have had a chance to work. This, along with the testimony of Tabern Amontanus, leads to the conclusion that the beer had a noticeable but not strong acidity. Einbeck is situated at the headwaters of the tributaries of the Leine River, ? And surrounded by mountains. Its water is very soft snow melt. This water does not travel very far, and it's all above ground, so we can assume that it would not pick up any mineral hardness. Hops are no longer grown in the region, but we can assume that they were low alpha varieties. They were all low alpha varieties in the past.
Yeah.
They had, oh my God, imagine giving someone like an IPA, a
Oh,
West Coast IPA.
Yeah,
to
they'd
this.
be like, what is this?
Try this Centennial. And they'd be like, oh, God.
What have you done?
oh yeah.
You'd
What
be
is science rot?
Yeah.
Well, then they weren't used to even the piney resin. Like their flavors were more earthy and herbal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show them
Um,
a hazy New England. They're like,
Something's wrong here.
These are the worst hops ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think your hops are working. Did you put them in here?
And that is even as more recent as like the 70s and 80s. If you got citrus, it was thrown out in hop breeding.
Can you imagine?
It's like, that's horrible.
You could have been living the life.
Done.
Look, let's go back to Christ.
Do your cats reenact the Lion King again?
I think so. There's cannonballed up their cat condo.
Because cats. Okay. Since Einbeck often falls below freezing during the winter and all beer was brewed from fall through spring, the implication is that the hops would have been relatively fresh. The hopping rate must have been very high to counter the sweetness of the under attenuated beer and also to keep the non-Saccharomyces organisms at bay.
I'm also just now thinking about it's like, oh yeah, during below freezing during the winter. The ice Bock.
We're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
to it.
Thank you, Brittany. Appreciate it.
Hmm?
I'm assuming you're doing a translate or how
Yes,
to
I am.
pronounce.
Just see when we see highlighting in the script, we know someone is either helping us figure out where we are or
trying to copy paste into a pronunciation guide.
Fix
I'm
it.
going to take a guess and go Ein Pokashe. I'm Pokashe.
I don't think I can say it out the way I want to try to say it because it's
Ein Pokashe Pier.
on. God, I can. Problem is, I'm about to say it like what my brain tries to read it as, and I say it in like with an accent.
Ein Pokarchisis.
I can hear like a cousin or something saying, "Ain Peckerchirsis."
She
It's like-
played it. Play it again. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's a shitty.
I don't think anyone else could hear it, but no. Yeah, just follow your heart.
Yep, I like where that went. Well, this Bock beer was produced by the Hofbrauhaus Munchen. I don't know even how to spell Munich.
Yes.
It's Munich, so
After they obtained the secrets of brewing used in Einbeck.
Yes,
They
they
kidnapped
changed them by kidnapping the mayor.
Kidnap and torture.
like obtaining the secrets like it sound like they found the hidden scrolls in a heist and they broke their way out. Instead, it's just like
They found the hidden scrolls inside the man's head and broke his legs so he couldn't run away.
I was gonna say like they just like see him on there like quick toss him into the back of the cart. Yeah. Where am I going?
And this was a mayor at that.
Yeah.
The beer is made from an all barley malt mash, as the Reinheitsgebot had already long been the law of the land. To complicate things further, although the brewmaster from the north would have wanted to specify pale malts, that would not have been proven feasible. The water in the Isar River that flows through Munich is a chalky green color. Oh,
Ugh.
wonderful. And contains lots of carbonates. Ugh. Pushing Munich breweries to use acidifying darker malts. As this beer was brewed for local usage and therefore quicker consumption with less handling involved, there must have been an even smaller chance for the competing organisms to gain a foothold. Thus, this beer was probably less acidic than its northern cousins. Sankt Vater beer. So, what's Sankt? The Saint Father beer?
Yes.
Okay. This beer was originally brewed by the Brothers of St. Francis from the Italian city of Paula for their own consumption. Is that really Paula? For their own consumption during times of fasting. This is the way to go. It was introduced as a nutrient substitute for solid food. As such, the goal was not to have high alcohol, at least no higher than necessary to preserve the beer through fast periods, but instead to carry as much food value as possible. The beer did not have a long shelf life. It was prepared for a known fixed time, and only enough to carry through was made. It was drunk relatively fresh rather than having a significant lagering period and had a lower hopping rate. This gave the beer an even sweeter finish, producing a very satisfying effect, just the thing required by the monks.
Luke, I am your brewer.
Yeah.
Sorry, we said Vater, and that's all.
I want to make a Sankt Father, Saint Father beer or something along those. Maybe it's Christmas beer.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh, sorry. Now I'm trying to think of like how you would make that out of like a
Christmas
Christmas
Bock?
ale, like a Christmas Bock, essentially.
Oh, that's
and,
an easy one. We could do that easy.
and I'm just kind of thinking like a you get a couple extra spices in there, but you kind of like have a low ABV to make it kind of I don't know. Sorry,
Quaffable.
yeah.
Yeah. The Dunkelsbach.
Call it the Sankt Nichols.
Old Sankt Nichols. All right, the Dunkelsbach has a link to the past of Bock beers. This is the standard bearer of the style from 1614 into this century.
I heard Knuckles Bock, and I was like, what? How many knuckles?
Sonic's Bock. Now,
yes, that it doesn't imply the existence of a Tails Bock and a Sonic Bock.
Yep.
The Sonic Bock is just a Bock you get at you drink in a parking lot at a Sonic.
What would the tails be?
It's made out of the last dregs of your gruit.
all right. Well, now, however, this beer, the Dunkelsbach, has been mostly supplanted by the Helles varieties. Finding a commercial example is becoming increasingly difficult. Curiously, the Hofbrau Munich, originator of the style, does not currently produce one, but Einbecker Brauhaus, which originally produced a pale beer, does. There you go. Outside of Germany, this is the predominant style left over from a time when the style immigrated into foreign lands.
I'm just picturing the beer in foreign lands going, I come from the land of the ice and snow.
It did.
It did.
True. Doppelbock originated independently. I want to make a Bock. We've got an area of the brewery that is unheated or cooled. And so if I just put it in barrels and put it in there, it could do its own little overwinter aging. That would be really cool.
Queen Doppelbockalus. Sorry, it's a C-Lab 2021 reference. Couldn't stop it.
This happens. Doppelbocks originated independently from the Dunkelsbachs, but they have grown closer together over time. As Helles Bocks have begun to take over the Bock niche, the darker beers have become crowded together. There are now a few pale Doppelbocks appearing on the market. Those pale Doppelbocks are more like the Dunkelsbachs than the Helles Bocks, with only the color change and lower melanoid content in flavor and aroma to distinguish them. Without the bitterness as a foil, they are sweeter in taste and finish. That's why I like these beers.
I thought that said melatonin.
Well,
I mean,
especially when we're talking about like it changing the color. My brain was like, wait, melanin. I get those confused in my brain a lot. They are in a very similar file, and every time the doctor's like, "Are you having trouble sleeping? You should take some." And my brain goes, "Melanin? No."
You're like, "What's a tan have to do with this?"
Well, in fairness, I get very sleepy when I sunburn.
Yes, because the sun tries to kill us all. That's
It
why.
does. Well, it tries to kill us two. Those two, less so.
Yeah,
tan. Right, I know you son of a.
I was looking at my arm the other day because we had been spending a little bit more time at the pool like every weekend, and I was like, "Oh, I'm getting dark. I'd like to keep this." And then I popped my top because I had one too many Modelo's and decided that I was going to go without a swim shirt, and much to the chagrin of everybody else. And I started to burn like in 10 minutes with sunscreen on. I was like, I haven't had my shirt off in decades.
That's why I got off work like 45 minutes early one day, and there's a park right by work. There's a slightly secluded part of a walking track, and I took my shirt off and went for a 10-minute walk. It was like, that's enough exposure to not burn me and like prep the skin of my back and stomach. And even though it was only like 10, 15 minutes, I still had like a reddish band on my gut, like on the top of my gut, where I was getting more sun than anything else.
See, and what I'm doing is the fake stuff. So
Mm.
I'm staying inside. Remain indoors.
I support this.
Well, we've got the Hellesbach and the Maybach or Maybach. Hellesbach is a relatively recent arrival to the Bock family, although the original Einbecker was described as pale. It's a relative pale color to the other very dark beers of its day. Hellesbach is the result of scientific investigation and technological advances.
Science.
Malting and brewing. When we say technological advances, we're talking the technological advances of like the 1800s. No, really, because it's like the way that you kind of dry the malt out. That's the big portion of it. Used to, we would have to do a lot of work to get that dry, and basically meant to burn it. But now you can just kind of basically get it dry. These have reduced a beer only half as dark as the palest beer of the past. From resources that had previously enforced the exclusive production of dark beers. Even so, the Hellesbachs are designed to walk a fine line between blandness and too much color. The dark color that comes with large quantities of melanoidins, there we go. I couldn't get that last little bit. Are not wasted, but their flavors and aromas are. To achieve this balance, these beers use Dunkelsmalls, although the quantities employed are much lower than with the Dunkelsbox. Basically a dark malt, a roasted malt of sorts. From a beer that is 1/3 higher in original gravity than a common Pilsner, we see at least 2 to 4 times as much color. These beers are deep gold to light amber in range, and as a result of the compromise in ingredients. Maybach is a subtype of Hellesbach, and it's brewed to the same general specifications as a Hellesbach, but with more aging and more hops, up to perhaps 35 IBUs, which would be fairly aggressive in a lower gravity beer. Maybach has little more color, with 11 SRM or 25 EBC. SRM is usually what we're using here in the States, which brings it to the light to medium amber range. The hops may even have a cameo appearance in the nose of the beer, but still remain in the background relative to the fresh malty aroma, which is enhanced by the addition of a bit more dark malt.
I know that beer.
A more assertive version of the Hellesbach, the Maybach adds some spice and flair to the reawakening of spring.
Ah.
And finally, the old Mac Daddy, the big boy, the Eisbock. Beer liquor. This is the specialty beer produced by the Kumbacher Reichelbrau Brewery in northern Bavaria.
The
Some-
kombucha Rauch beer.
Still remember when you accidentally
Eisbock.
craft, you ice bocked a beer.
Yep.
And we're like, all right.
That works for me. Some craft breweries outside the United States have attempted this style occasionally. There's a reason why. One reason for its rarity may be that the extra equipment needed to produce it. Another, at least within the United States, said Eisbock production requires a distilling license if the finished beer has an effective gravity higher than its original. The idea behind Eisbock is that the final product is distilled to some extent by freezing the water and removing the remaining liquid, thereby concentrating all the flavors, components, and alcohol. This process also has the effect of magnifying any off flavors. This can make esters particularly noticeable, resulting in very fruity and L-like flavors, intense L-like flavors.
Welcome to Flavor Country.
For sure. Nail polish remover gets really intense on these. It's a pretty big, like, you just basically take your beer and freeze it, and then you just like you would with like let's say you're having a slushy, and you basically put your slushy into a strainer and drain out the liquid that's flavorful, and leave the ice behind. That's more or less what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that. What's the worst that could happen?
It's, I wonder.
So
Yeah,
there we
it's
have it, and that's what a lot. Well, our last episode on Bock beer was literally a reading of the BJCP style guide, and then us saying, "Oh yeah, Cincinnati, we have the world's largest Bock festival. You should come to it." And
There's so
that
much more
was
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
All it took was
I mean, that was back in the day.
all it took was a search on Amazon.com to find an entire book on it.
A good book at that.
Yeah, actually.
I may pop that one open. I think there are recipes in it. I may pop it open and see what I can find for maybe a new beer.
Oh, there's a ton. Like the whole back half of the book.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think it's time to discuss what we've been drinking.
Sparkling Muscatel, one of the finest wines of Idaho. Would you taste it for us, please? Ooh. Excellent choice. Should be for 95 cents.
Well,
The Miss Piggy ooh at the end of that always,
That's every
always sells it.
yeah.
So fancy.
So it's not box season.
No.
Box are kind of hard to come by.
Yep.
And honestly, I remember in the past, Rogue's Dead Guy Ale was actually a Maybach. But I actually didn't have time to run out to try and find some and to reconfirm if it was still actually a Maybach. So we did happen to find the new Sam Adams seasonal pack is out, and they have a Munich Dunkel in there
Oh,
Mm.
actually.
called Flannel Fest. And I was like, honestly, the Munich Dunkel, I was like, that after writing the episode, I was like, is basically a Bock beer. I was like, it's ticking like 90% of the boxes. So we're going to run with that. What do we have? Is there a description? Featuring robust notes of toasted bread and caramel, balanced by light floral hop aroma. This classic German-style lager paired with the flannel will keep you cozy during your coldest of beer season adventures. Yes,
If
our
only it were-
coldest. Not that we just had literally the hottest day of the year.
If only it felt like that right now.
Heat index was 111.
Jesus.
So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, good.
it's, very tasty. I don't what. Sorry, I'm trying to read it on the fly here. 5.2% alcohol, 20 IBUs. So yeah, I mean, like it seems to. That's why in my head I was like, this really tick. It doesn't come out and call it a Bock. I was like, it really ticks a lot of the boxes, and it's pretty decent. I'm still mad at the fact that they do not actually have like. Well, they put the chocolate Bock in the winter seasonal.
Yeah. Which I think that's fair with that one. I don't know. Because the only it was the Flannel Fest, and then what was the other one? It was
They've
a
got
hoppy something or other.
Yep.
I don't remember the name of it now, but the only two new ones in the seasonal pack. But I mean, otherwise, like it's a pretty good pack.
I saw that pack actually recently, and I almost came my hair buying it. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll just get something simpler.
I'm just sad that what was it for 2 years they actually made a legitimate fest beer, not an Oktoberfest, but like a legit fest beer, and they've stopped.
Yeah,
They made it hard to get, and then just decided now. I'm like, why? Like, give it to me in 6 packs. That's all I want.
Seems like no one's buying this harder to find beer.
Yeah.
well,
All right. I've been doing double duty today. I had a couple of different beers. One was Old Reliable from Mirror Twin Brewing. Just a lager, like a 4%. It's just a beer ass beer that was fine. It does say on the can, one of a kind beer for a one of a kind people.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's fine. It's just a nice cool lager for, it being 1,000,000,000 degrees lately. It was helping. And then I moved on to what's essentially just become my home drinking beer, which is the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Mm.
It's just every time I grab it, I'm like, I'm never disappointed, and it's just a nice, easy to pick up, like 6-pack of cans, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be good for a week or so.
It's so good because you can find what you want in it.
Yeah.
Like it's just like whatever you're looking for, you'll find it in a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
A lot of friends, some of my brewer friends in town were also just like, they'll, I'll have one up when we're somewhere, and they're just like, I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm just getting a pale ale. They're like, don't need to apologize for that. It's a good beer. It's good for a reason.
Malty, it's hoppy. I mean, it's just got again, whatever your brain wants to focus on, you'll find in it.
Mm-hmm.
You want malty sweetness, bam, it's in there. You want, you want big pine, it's in there. You want some, you want some citrus notes, it's in there. It's all there, baby.
Yeah. How about you, Casey?
I am drinking a beer that I absolutely hate.
Oh, I hate those shows.
I got a pack of Voodoo Ranger. But this is the Voodoo Ranger Brute Force, a Fruit Punch IPA.
Oh,
no.
Good Lord.
Why?
And it's not as bad that it's fruit flavored, but it's 9.5% alcohol, so it's fruit flavor and very alcoholic. Like, doesn't hide it well. So yeah. That's been what I've been drinking.
Don't buy that.
Like,
No.
It sounds like that would actually fly off the shelves in a college town.
Oh, it's like you can tell it's like fruit punch flavor they've put in there. That's all it is.
I mean, like I said, in a college town, that's all the kids are wanting.
I'm picturing like a Hawaiian punch, and poured into a beer.
Yeah, that's it. Except that would be better.
Yeah, probably would. At least probably be.
Again, like most beers, this has no sweetness to it. So fruit punch should have sweetness.
Yeah.
Like,
look, if New Belgium doesn't put out the Atomic Pumpkin this year,
they did. They just announced it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Or just put it on the website, I guess. But yeah.
You're gonna start calling them war criminals.
I mean, they're already war criminals, but that's their take on a pumpkin beer is one of the most refreshing things that has ever come for that segment of beer. And they're like, let's just dump peppers in this bad boy. Let's spice it up.
It does
a different kind of pumpkin spice.
It does help because we're entering the dark times of beer for me. Everywhere I look, someone's like, would you like some pumpkin? Never. Not once.
The Jacko is in the Harvest Pack from Sam Adams.
Oh yeah.
Because you'll be happy to know, Bob, it is not, what was it? It was like a couple years ago that it was literally just Boston Lager, Oktoberfest, and then 2 separate pumpkin beers that were in.
I do remember that one. Just like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, it was very polarizing, and they learned their lesson.
Well, today's episode was written by Chris. Not a meat popsicle, as it says in the script. Using source from Classic Beer Styles series, Book 9, Bock by Daryl Richmond.
Very good book. We need to get we seriously need to get the whole.
Oh yeah,
our source books, and with Casey introducing me to this one, I'm like, no, we need to go back, like this kind of revisit of topics we did dirty in our first year or two.
We didn't
needs to happen.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like we are learning along, so that's why we're doing the revisits, because it's time to realize we've learned more.
Yeah.
I can hear esters and phenols and not pass out.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
all matured.
Yeah.
Greatly.
We
Grown
drink
as-
IPAs.
Ugh. Some of us, I've kind of gotten back out of them again.
Oh, okay.
Give me a Modelo or a Busch Light now.
I mean, that can have its place, but
But you know where you can find your place. You could subscribe and get some great resources at haveadrinkshow.com and follow us at Have a Drink Show on social media and twitch.tv.
and you can tell us your favorite drink, ask a question, or just leave some general feedback. You can use the email address feedback@haveadrinkshow.com. You can send carrier pigeons. Still waiting on the last batch I sent out.
They're not
I
coming
hope-
back.
I don't think they are. I think
You turn them loose right beside of the Olympic shooting sport.
that was a problem. The other option was through no man's land during the artillery barrage. So
Yeah.
or you can also use the feedback page on the website.
Are they trapped behind enemy lines in the Argonne?
Define trapped.
It's Ypres out there right now. I'm sorry to say.
All joking fun aside, we need to update the beginning of the sign off because we don't do anything on Twitch anymore.
Well, that only just started though.
And it needs to be social media and YouTube.
We need to update a lot of things. Okay, calm down.
We're so 80s style. All joking fun aside, I'd like to remind everyone to please drink responsibly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can check us out on YouTube. And the next audio episode, ideally in another couple of weeks for that. It's been a
Depends.
little delayed in the last one, and I apologize for that. That's my bad. But yes. So also remember to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/haveadrinkshow. Somehow we still have patrons on there.
You get
Also-
nothing. Just forewarning, you're getting nothing extra.
Sometimes you'll get stuff extra. Sometimes. Then haveadrinkstore.com. We do have some fun things on there, and I would like to make some like Halloween kind of geared stuff for the show on there too. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. So once again, I'm Brittany Lee Walker.
I'm Justin Frazier.
I'm Christopher Walker.
Not a surprise. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.